Hey, everyone! If you've ever held a pencil and tried to recreate an idea so perfectly clear in your mind onto a piece of paper, you know art is stupidly difficult. And the worst part is that even if drawing is something you do on the daily, it doesn't necessarily get easier with time. Because as you progress, you'll always be faced with new standards you set for yourself. You may also tend to look at what others are doing and wish you could do it exactly like them. Creating an illustration is hard, it's annoying, but also incredibly satisfying when you manage to get it to a point close to what you envisioned. Oftentimes, as you learn, you may feel like you have to just come up with solutions on your own, like finding out how to draw this or that with no reference or little study and understand how colors work together instantly. It doesn't work that way though. Or, well, to some people, this stuff is something they just understand with more ease. But everyone is different, and I assure you, that is not the norm. Also, a self-taught artist is not more impressive than one who studied it in school or took classes. We all learn in different ways. However, I do believe there are some tips that can greatly help boost the quality of your art, or help make yourself feel more confident about it. Up until very recently, I was a very stubborn artist and I thought I should just understand how everything works on my own. And I studied art in college. Super contradictory, right? And because I was so stubborn, there are a lot of things I didn't actually assimilate in my classes because I didn't think it would apply to my own artistic path. But I kinda blame that on how they teach you some of the more technical stuff in art, like color theory for example. Did you ever have to fill in those dreadful color wheels with pencils? Just an awful experience overall, really just made me think I never wanted to put any thoughts on the colors of my art ever again. So I decided it could be a fun idea to share some tips I would have loved to know as a younger artist and which I think would have helped me progress a lot more if I knew about them. Of course, you are free to agree with them as you are to disagree. They may not seem helpful to you, but I do think they could help others. So here are 3 tips I wish I would have known as a younger artist. The first one is the one thing that I can confidently say has helped tremendously to make my art look better and more authentic. And that is, color picking and color palettes. Yes, studying color theory and understanding how it works is very important for art in general. It's the one thing I think should not be neglected. However, knowing how it works and knowing how to apply it are 2 different things. Sure, I know yellow is the complementary color to violet, but it doesn't mean I know how to apply it for it to look right or natural. So what greater way to learn than to assimilate by using color palettes that experimented artists have already made? There's this website, coolers.co, that allows you to upload a picture and they'll create a color palette from picking colors directly from the image. My favorite pictures to use are pieces from Impressionist artists. Impressionism is an art movement so rich in colors and textures to convey an atmosphere from using colors you initially would never have even thought to use. It shows shadows that instead of just being a dull dark color are made of blues, reds, greens, browns. So here's how I usually proceed. First I open Google Image, and then I either type in the name of an artist or simply just Impressionism pieces. I scroll until I find one that has the atmosphere I want for an illustration of mine, or colors that I would love to experiment with. I take it to the website, adjust my preferences, and just like that I have a neat color palette, which is usually far out of my comfort zone. It's perfect to experiment with new colors, new atmospheres. It'll be sure to push your limits, but in ways that are fun and challenging. Of course, you can stray from using only these colors, but keeping it as a base is definitely going to help the piece feel cohesive within itself. As you use them, you'll learn how to adapt and work with different shades of colors, different tones, how some contrasts work better than others. Playing in the background is a little drawing I made for fun using this very technique. If I had just gone for the usual colors I like, the piece would probably have been a lot brighter and more saturated, which is fine too. But because I used this palette, I got to use colors that gave it a totally different feeling. It helps making it look more original too, in my opinion. I sincerely hope this trick can help anyone who, like me, struggles a lot with keeping colors balanced and cohesive within a single piece. It has been a lifesaver to me for sure. The second tip I have is a lot more straightforward and less on a technical level. It's something I have personally struggled with a lot, and truthfully still do sometimes. It's okay to take your time on a piece. I repeat, it is okay to take your time on a piece. And by that I mean, a piece does not have to be started and finished in a single sitting. A piece can be the product of days, weeks, months. I used to have this mentality that if I started a drawing, I needed to finish it the same day or else I'd just completely abandon it. From that resulted countless drawings I was never satisfied with. It was never polished enough to my taste. It was always too messy, but I refused to finish it at any other time than now. I honestly can't say why I was so adamant on drawing so fast, especially since clearly that was not working for me. It probably has to do with social media and how fast trends tend to be. But it made me stagnate so much. Because I never stopped to figure out what annoyed me about a drawing, what I felt should be changed. It is so important to take your time when it comes to art. Especially if what you want to be doing is a full-on illustration. By going so fast, you're most likely just going to end up burning yourself out and disliking your own art. I'm not saying you need to be spending countless hours on every single drawing you do. In fact, sometimes there is nothing more therapeutic than just sketching with no care in the world. The problem comes from wanting detailed pieces, but then never giving yourself the chance to produce those. I get how frustrating it is sometimes when you feel like you're wasting hours and hours on a single piece, and it seems never ending. And that's why it doesn't have to be done in a single day, and instead over the course of multiple days. It'll help you when every day you have a clear head to look back on the piece and notice things you didn't the day prior. For this I want to share a drawing I made years ago of Killua from Hunter x Hunter that I remember spending a whole afternoon on. I cringe looking at it now, but I liked it back then. Well, I liked it, but I knew it was not what I wanted for the piece. So I recently decided to redraw it. And of course you can't exactly compare them because clearly I've progressed a lot since then, but for this piece, I spent a lot more time on. So I could make some details pop out a lot more, like his face, for one thing, which gets completely washed out by all the other bright colors. Or the clothes he's wearing. For this piece, I wanted something colorful that showcased a fun and fashionable outfit, but instead it gets lost among colors and messy lines that I couldn't polish because I didn't want to spend any more time on it. That's the difference time makes on a piece. I mean, it wouldn't have looked the way the piece I made now does, but I'm sure it could have benefited from a few more days of touch-ups. I promise you're gonna be a lot more content with the drawings you make if you give yourself time to work on it. Your art deserves that time and love to pour into it. Now for our last tip and definitely not least, make yourself a visual library. This is something that was actually taught to me in college and somehow I didn't believe it to be of any actual help and never committed to it. But I was so completely wrong. If you're wondering what I mean by visual library, I guess you could see it as something similar to a mood board. Except it doesn't require the perfect aesthetic of those where all the pictures match in colors or themes. It's a lot simpler than that. Basically, all you need to do is whenever you see a piece of art, a picture, or a drawing that you like online, you save it into a folder. The sunset has pretty colors outside? Take a picture of it and upload it to your folder. You love how this artist's sketches look like? Save a bunch of them. You like the texture of this painting? Save it. So forth and so on. What I mean is, your mind can't always come up with creative ideas on its own. You need to feed your brain those inspirations in order for you to develop that creativity. More often than not, you'll realize the pictures you save all have some aspects in common, a style that you're drawn to. Not only is it going to help you visualize with more ease art you wish to make, it can also be a way for you to set goals you want to meet. Let's say your folder ends up being filled with drawings that has intricate line art and details, then you know exactly what you should be working on. I often end up saving fan arts from fandoms I'm not even a part of, just because I love the way the artist has rendered their piece and the end result is something I want for my own art. Studying from other artists will always be a great way to learn. Look at the pictures you've saved and ask yourself, what is it about this piece I love? How did the artist make this thing so appealing to me? It might help you notice subtle details that can easily be missed, because more often than not we only look at a piece as its whole and disregard what techniques were used individually. You can also use Pinterest to make boards without having to save pics into a folder directly into your phone or computer. Pinterest can be both amazing and bad for art, as it's often full of stolen artworks and pictures, but the diversity of content you'll find on there is unmatched. I hope this last tip made sense to you. I just think it is so important to soak yourself in the art of others as an artist. We can all learn from one another, and hey, who knows, maybe your art will end up being someone else's inspiration. I guess at the end of the day it really depends on self-discipline and the willingness to open yourself to outside inspirations, which was not my cup of tea before. But if you find yourself in a similar situation, do trust me on this, these tips will help you in one way or another. Be kind to yourself, and more importantly, allow yourself to be taught and to learn. Your artistic path should never be seen as a race. I sincerely hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon for more art shenanigans.